this this experience I'm going to relate to you as I refer to the Georgia Highway Patrol. This goes back about 25 years ago, and I had just purchased a 1985 Chevy Caprice. I only had it maybe 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, not very long. And I had my mother in the car, had my wife in the car. We were driving out of Florida up I-95 along the coast of Florida. And it's one of those kind of days when you're driving that you have no place to go and all day to get there. And it was just a beautiful day to drive, sunshiny, clear, crisp October afternoon, and we were driving back up to South Carolina. In the course of the driving this afternoon, we were driving, there was next to no cars on the road, and I had the cruise control on my car set at about 70, 71 miles an hour. The speed limit was 65, and I had no place to go and all day to get there. So I was just enjoying the drive, enjoying the ride in this car, and enjoying the conversation. And apparently I must have been too busy in the conversation to actually notice the speed limit sign dropping the speed limit from 65 down to 55. And as I was driving at this still cruise control speed of about 70 miles an hour in this 55 mile an hour speed zone, I noticed in the rearview mirror the only car coming up behind me was a Georgia Highway Patrol trooper, and he was running down the road he was coming down hard and heavy, and I couldn't figure out where in the world he was going so fast, and he pulled up right behind me and he flagging me over just like I had just robbed a bank or something. So I pull over on the side of the road, Georgia Highway Patrol's behind me, and I'm starting to sit in the car and I'm starting to think, what am I getting stopped for? Because I wasn't zigging or zagging, I wasn't moving in and out of traffic, I wasn't doing anything to cause him to want to come and stop me for a traffic violation. So I started feeling a little bit righteous about being stopped like this, and so coincidentally, the same time that I got out of my car, the colored highway patrol officer got out of the Georgia Highway Patrol car and was walking toward me. And as I was walking toward him, and he was looking at me, when I speak, I'm kind of animated, and when I was walking toward him, I said, "What am I being stopped for?" You know, this is like I mentioned in my other videos. This has been kind of an issue in the past because you can't really see that my hand is built like this. I was born like this. So immediately, the highway patrol officer is really tense. I mean, he's really tense, and the first thing he says to me is, "Give me your license." So I get my wallet out, I get my license out, and I'm actually looking at my insurance card to make sure it wasn't the expired one, because this is just about the time that I needed glasses. And as I'm looking at the insurance card, he snaps it out of my hands, and he pops it right into his clipboard, and he starts doing his paperwork. And I'm thinking there, like, I can't believe this guy is so tense. I mean, he's shaking, he's so upset. And I kind of looked at him, trying to figure out really quick in my mind what was going on or what was actually happening. And then as I thought back on the last couple of minutes, actually a couple of seconds of having to get out of the car, I looked at my hand and I said, "Oh, not this again." I mean, I've been through this so many times right now that I should know better, but I just didn't catch myself when I got out of the car. So, and looking at the highway patrol officer, I said to him, I said, "Excuse me," I said, "What you doing?" And as he didn't move his head, he just rolled his eyes up at me like this, and he says, "I'm writing you a ticket for speeding, son." And I figured, well, it's just going to be a $100 ticket anyway back 25 years ago. And I thought, well, it's going to just cost me the fine for a ticket anyway. I might as well just play the card. And I said, "Write me a ticket for speeding." I said, "You didn't even give me a chance to lie to you yet." And then he looks at me up again, doesn't move his head, doesn't move anything, just rolls his eyes up back at me again. And he says this very tensely. He says, "And besides that, son, nobody does this to me." And I thought to him, I said, I was making sure that I was in full view of his car's camcorder, and it was perfect line of sight for the car's camcorder. I said, "Excuse me," I got really close to him, and I said, "Excuse me, I'm being cited," I held my hand up like this, I said, "I'm being cited because of your misinterpretation of my disability." And I looked over I was kind of looking like, I was kind of peering over the clipboard, and I was looking down the clipboard, and I said, and what's the court date? He actually stopped. Time froze. He actually stopped. And then he looked at the clipboard and he wrote "warning" on his paperwork, handed me my license and the ticket back. He says, he handed it back to me. He says, "I gotta go." And by the time I looked at the ticket. I was looking at it for a second, make sure. Actually, I actually wasn't. I didn't get a ticket. I got a warning ticket. Before I even got back into my car, Georgia Highway Patrol, the officer just had took off, just pulled out and just passed me, just like he was going out to another fire or something. And I got back in the car, and my mother was sitting in the front seat because the windows were down so they could hear the conversation. Because it was a beautiful October day, and the windows were down. And as I got back into the car, my mother looks over at me and says, "You're my son. And if you'd have told me you did that, I wouldn't have believed you." You cannot imagine. I just drove off with another story in the books.